Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about uncomfortable questions. That's a thinker. And luckily, I have Ben here who's going to really help us think about this in a whole new way. So, thank you so much, Ben, for coming onto my show, sharing your time and your perspective with me. Let's just dive right in. When you hear those words, uncomfortable questions, what does that make you think about?
It makes me think about substances and mental health challenges.
Hmm. That's a good one. Substances and mental health challenges, because when we get really down to the nitty-gritty and uncomfortableness and even into the taboos, it's usually with substances. People are ashamed or anything that's very shameful. And a lot of times mental health, oh my goodness, that is a taboo in itself. People still don't like to talk about their mental health. People don't like to even acknowledge that there could be some type of mental illnesses or disease or anything that could be going on that they don't even want to go see a doctor or professional for it. So yeah, those are real uncomfortable questions. So I guess I have to ask you, well, how do you handle uncomfortable questions?
How do I handle uncomfortable questions? Well, uh, I got to say my reputation is already shot with most of the people that I know. No, that's a joke. People have seen me in uh, episodes. I have bipolar disorder, and so I get into these episodes where shake, shout, and be really angry. And it's when I come out of it, I'm embarrassed. It's like I I feel like I've sort of stepped into the stigma and uh, just personified what mental health challenges are that people understand, and it's hard to come out of that. I get really depressed and ashamed and find yourself lying in bed for 6 months and not doing anything. So it's a real challenge uh, to have come out of an episode and trying to face people before, like your friends and family, and a lot of people will just ghost you. Like they'll they won't they won't allow them to get close or even acquainted with you because of the way you acted when you were having the episode. Uh, so it's rough.
Oh, I know what you mean. My mom has bipolar and so does my sister. They both have bipolar. And when I was growing up, I always felt like I was always on my toes around them. You know what I mean? Because I never knew how to deal with them. But then now that I'm as adult, I accept them as they are and I embrace them as they are and I let them just have their moments whenever they do have their episodes. But they've been really good with trying to keep them contained and with medicine
Yeah.
and everything like that. But I think it comes down to having the right people around you because if you have the understanding of you're having an episode like that, then the right people around you will still like allow you to have that moment, but then treat you still with dignity and respect because you're still a human being. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're still human. Your heart matters, your mind matters, your soul matters, your well being matters. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think just having the right people around you when you're having those episodes is important because then the shame, the guilt, the pressure of just like, oh, well, how am I going to really have friends? Oh, how can I really keep a relationship? You know what I mean? Those are the things that are really hard because even with my mom and my sister, their husbands, it takes a lot on them when they do have those manic episodes. And one thing that they always say is just like when they have those moments, they just check out and they just let themselves do whatever they do. They don't ever take it to heart. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people need to learn. If you know somebody has some psychological issues like bipolar, schizophrenia, things of that nature, DID, you know what I mean, dissociative disorders, then you need to also have that understanding that it's not always an attack at you personally. It's just the moment, just something triggers, something happens. You know what I mean? Something always happens like that. So I think that's the important thing that people always need to remember is that just have that understanding, that empathy. But a lot of the times people don't have that, it's very, and it makes it very uncomfortable. So I guess what is the most uncomfortable question that you've ever gotten then?
The most uncomfortable question I've ever gotten. Uh, just to backtrack a little bit, yeah, my mother had some mental health challenges too, and so much to the point where there was a court order for her to stay away from me and my brother until we were 18. For this is when we were 9 and 8 years old, uh, and the it was really hard to uh, get to the point where we could actually uh, and talk to our mom. And there was a point that I actually remember having just let all that stuff in the past go and get rebuilding a relationship with my mom that's been productive. Um, the most the most uh, difficult question that I've had to answer uh, was uh, from a boss uh, after I'd had an episode at work, uh, and it was uh, so there were a whole bunch of things that could have happened. Like I could have sued them for firing me because of mental health, uh, but I never took it that point because I was just ashamed of what I did, and I didn't want to face the people at work again. I was running around talking about conspiracy and just really making people feel really uncomfortable. And uh, I didn't want to go back. And he asked me if I'd uh, been using, if I'd gotten high, and at that period in time I didn't. So uh, that was it was hard to say no, I didn't, but all uh, the same behavior was happening that would have happened if I had been using. So that's hard to it's hard to get past that because the getting fired from a job and everybody thinks that you're high is uh, that's it's hard to face.
Oh, absolutely. It's most definitely hard to face because it's like how do you tell somebody that you have this mental condition? How do you really step into that water? Because sometimes it's just easier to let people believe in that, oh, that you're high or you're on drugs and you're just acting out and tweaking. You know what I mean? Versus actually being honest and open and be like, I'm sorry, this is what's going on. This is my situation. And I think it's a hard thing for a lot of people to say because nowadays despite the fact that there's laws against being fired or not being hired because of a mental condition. At the same time, a lot of companies won't hire people with mental conditions and those type of disorders because of the liability of the fact like, oh, are you actually going to be performing well today? Is this going to be an up and down thing? You know, the consistency is what a lot of companies want, and the fact that somebody is can't be consistent can truly cause a wreck in the industry. And I just want to tap back on what you were talking about earlier about how your mother and how she had a court ordered and how you guys tried to create a relationship later on. I think that's very interesting because people don't really talk about how sometimes a mental condition can be so severe in one's life that the court has to get into it and they have to separate children and family members from one another. And I don't think people talk about that because they don't want to acknowledge that something is even that severe or could get to that severe. So I appreciate you being honest with me and just saying that because my grandmother, she actually developed schizophrenia due to her son's, that's a whole another story situation, but she ended up developing schizophrenia, and it really took a toll on my mom and her relationship where now we're not on talking terms at all. Like if I see her in the street, I probably wouldn't even I couldn't say anything to her just because her mental state of mind is just completely no longer the woman that I remember growing up as a child. So, and I think that's a real thing that a lot of people also don't talk about is the fact that how someone's mental condition can get so severe that a relationship is no longer able, you know what I mean, to be there anymore. You know what I mean? Because it's so uncomfortable to even try to make so many excuses for someone that it just takes a toll on their well-being, you know what I mean, on our well-being. So it's just, I think a lot of the times people need to remember that if it doesn't work, that's okay. And if it does work and you can make it work, then great. But I think it's nice that you at least try to make it work with your mother and try to create a relationship. And do you have a relationship with your brothers and do they
Yeah,
have mental conditions as well?
my brother has schizophrenia, and he he doesn't fit, but like we're in this situation our whole lives that we sort of help each other out when things aren't going so well. Uh, and so he's had some issues with the law and being incarcerated, and uh, so it's really hard for him to find a place to live after or find a job or anything. And so he, I've been in the position where I've gotten him places to live. He's currently at a place to live that I was living there, and then I got him into the apartment through uh, our master tenant, and uh, so he moved in, and then I moved out. I got affordable housing, so I moved into an apartment, and so while we were together, he became my IHSS worker so that he could have a job, and and I he does do the work for me, but sometimes it gets it's uh it's it's hard to hard to like vet, evaluate the quality of the work that he does because he's sick, and he doesn't know how to really do a lot of things and doesn't relate to people, and so uh, he's he, sometimes he's in really severe episodes, and he'll by the building that I live in, uh, pretty much in ragged clothes and smelling like he hadn't taken a shower in a month, and uh, so I we've worked it out so that he really doesn't come around when I tell him not to come around. But he comes over every day to do some work and help me with my chores. And there's been times when I've been sick, and like I'll give my phone away, uh, and a brand new iPhone, I give it away. But like he'll call it, and he'll track down the people who picked it up, and get the phone. I think like we're really good at having each other's backs when we get in a situation, in an episode, or do something that we normally wouldn't do when we're in uh, when we're stable. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. You know what I mean? At least at the end of the day, like, you know that despite your differences, despite the cognitive awareness and situation, you try to do the best that you can. You try to help as best as you can, despite your own limitations as well. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't even give themselves credit to, is the fact that you have your own situations that you're dealing with, your own life that you still have to live, but at the end of the day you still find ways to still look out for each other, you know what I mean, still be there for each other, respecting each other's space, letting him know, like, don't come around right now, just give me some time. Okay, fine, I won't come around, you know what I mean, like having that understanding is something that people really need to start having, is having those open communications, because when you have that open communication, you are starting to let people know the truth, and the truth is whatever that you're feeling, and people shouldn't be ashamed of what they're feeling. They should just step up and just and be open and talk about it. So for you, I know that you talked about early in the beginning how substance is an uncomfortable conversation to talk about. So for you, do you think substance abuse is something that you're still dealing with?
no, I well, it's something that you deal with for your whole life. But at, as of a few years ago, I haven't drank or used. So it's
That's good.
uh, one thing that I learned in AA is you don't talk about mental health the challenges, because sponsors will fire you. The the A lot of people just can't deal with that. They may have their own problems with alcoholism, but they never understand that there's people who need to take medications uh, for their maladies. But uh, so a lot of people in AA and A, it's they don't want you to take meds if there's you're sponsored, and then they'll see you in an episode, and uh, they won't understand that it was because you weren't taking your meds. And so yeah, but I want to throw this. I've got this uh, one of my books. This is Lucent Associations Jazz. You know what lucent associations are?
Lucent's Association. No, I do
Yeah,
not.
derailment syndrome is when somebody has an episode and they speak in making connections of things that really aren't related, and they may be very related to the person who's having the episode, but it sounds like nonsense coming out of to clinicians and normal people. But that's lucent associations, and I've developed a, a genre of jazz. It's lucent associations jazz. So that's the name of the book, lucent associations jazz, automemorography of music, mischief, and madness. It's an autobiography, and I go into a lot about uh, my mental health challenges and uh, how I've uh, how I've overcome them. But you never quite overcome mental health challenges. They just it's like they're in remission.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they're just stagnant for a certain period of time, but then it's kind of just waiting for that one moment to be triggered, and then there you go, it's all over again. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like, they think that, oh, I haven't had an episode in a year, or I haven't had an episode in 2 or 3 years. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. And then their anxiety comes back, and then they're triggered again. And then it's like a whole nother thing happening all over again, depending on who it is or what it is, you know. I know exactly what you mean, and it is truly something that people don't talk about. People don't really have these real conversations like we're doing right now, and just letting people know that this is normal. You know what I mean? How unnormal it may seem to society, like, oh, it shouldn't be happening. Like, no, no. If you're exposed to a lot of people who have mental health issues, this is actually normal. You know what I mean? It's normal to have
yeah,
these episodes of up and down. It's normal to not know exactly where you're at and where you're going or what's happening. This is dissociation within yourself. You know what I mean? This dissociation with your environment. And it's like you have to kind of bring people back to ground, you know what I mean? To center
yeah,
themselves in a way, you know, and it's a real thing because even my husband, he has these manic episodes with his anger. And when he's off his meds, it's like he's a whole different person. And it's like
yeah,
sometimes I have to remind him, like, sweetie, you haven't taken your meds. It's okay. You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. It's okay. The kids are they're okay. We are okay. Everything's okay. The only thing that's not okay is you. So go take your meds and have some time. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Just have that patience. And I don't think a lot of people have that understanding. And luckily I do because
yeah.
I don't think my
Dating's really
husband would
hard.
it is really hard, and I don't
And
think my husband would able to have this type of relationship and family if it wasn't because of my understanding with mental health and my experience
yeah,
already. So it's like for you, do you think relationships is a hard thing to obtain?
it's I haven't had a girlfriend in over 5 years now, and I was actively looking, but uh, there there really is people who won't get involved with somebody if if they have some challenges, just depression or or anxiety. The the and the stigma and the reality of having to take care of somebody for a while they're uh, not in remission. So, so there's a lot of challenges and a lot of responsibilities when you're involved
Oh
with somebody.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that's very good, and I appreciate you sharing your book. I think I'm into jazz. My mom got me into jazz. She loves jazz.
oh yeah,
She's one to just play jazz. Especially, I remember we used to take road trips all the time across the states from Wisconsin to New York all the time when we were younger. And whenever she was just tired of just whatever was playing on the radio, she would just put jazz music on, put on her CDs, and everybody would just fall asleep and just be like it's just this calming sense
yeah,
of just listening to music and just listening to the instruments and listening to the beats and just zoning into what you hear. I mean, I think jazz is such an underrated music industry that I think more people need to really tap into and realize like no, there's like soul into jazz. There's meaning into these instruments. So yeah, I love that she wrote a book about it because I think it holds so much power, especially for the individuals who understands the culture and understands, the mental health association with it. I think that's such a beautiful thing that she posted and shared out to the world. And time is catching up to us, Ben, and I'm sad because I feel like we can continue on talking. Oh my goodness, I am enjoying this conversation, but what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
well, yeah, the music really music of all kinds has a real therapeutic healing effect on people with mental health challenges. And I even founded a nonprofit that brings music and arts classes and concerts to mental health clinics and retirement homes where we're
Nice.
really addressing the loneliness epidemic, which is actually an
Mhm.
AMA recognized sickness that causes premature death, poor health, poor mental health, poor physical health, and poverty. Uh,
Mhm.
so we're trying to uh, bring some connection, some social connection to the people that who are really just sort of forgotten and just live in own little worlds without any help or relief from the loneliness.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you talked about the loneliness epidemic because I do think it's so surreal. We really are living in a time where we're trying to push this epidemic, I mean, of this mindset of being independent. Like you don't need
Yeah,
anyone, you don't nobody's gonna do anything for you. You don't care, nobody cares for you. You know what I mean? It's all about me, 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 be independent,
yeah,
do what you want, do. And it's just like we need to remember that we were not made to be independent. We are not made to just be one single human being. Because if that's the case, then there would be no need for anybody in this world. You know what I mean? Only one
yeah,
person and call it a day. If that's the case, then ship one person to every single planet out there in this world so that we can truly live independently and be
yeah.
with no one. But it's reality, that's not the case. We need humanity. We need each other. We need love again. We need communion. We need respect. We need to know that we are united in one way or another because even going shopping for just basic necessities for food, you need somebody to ship the food to your store. You need
Yeah,
somebody to drive the food to the store. You need somebody to stock the food to the store. You need somebody to check the food out. You need somebody to prepare the food for you or teach you in some way, shape, or form. Like you need people in one way or another to make your clothes, to make your hat, to make your
not
linens
just
in
the
your
physical
room.
things, but the mental, uh, the mental and social, just the mental
Yeah.
mental health.
It's
A lot of my when I'm in remission has to do with my social interaction as I start relationships with new friends and uh, get more involved in community
Yeah.
that are really helpful to keeping me from getting too depressed. Or,
Exactly, because it's a real thing. Like people don't realize when somebody can go down that rabbit hole of depression.
yeah,
Ooh, it gets dark and we're already lonely. We already isolate ourselves when we're in that depressive mode. So to go even darker and deeper, I mean, we really need one another for that community to realize like, hey, I'm here. Hey,
right,
I'm a friend. Hey, I can listen to you. I may not know all the right words. I may not know all the right things to say, but I'm here. I'm a body. I can listen to you. I can hear you. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that people need is to be heard, to be listened, to be acknowledged, and be like, I see you. I physically can see you. And it's like, people don't do that because people just walk past another person
yeah,
as if they're just a fly in a wall. And it's like, and it's sad because you can have a better conversation with a wall than you do a person because sometimes the person's truly not even listening. They're just in
or
their
they
own
talk
zone,
back.
in their, yeah, exactly. Exactly. They don't even talk back. Maybe the wall can talk back to me. You know what I mean? Maybe depending on how loony I want to be, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it's like, it really is interesting that we really are moving in this society of independence, but in reality, we need to move into a movement of community and love and forgiveness and just understanding that life is hard. It's a bitch sometimes, and we're not always going to get it right. But hey, at least there's another soul out there that sees me and I can feel acknowledged and I feel heard. So I appreciate this conversation so much, Ben. I really feel like we can keep going down, diving down, but time is truly catching up to us. So, oh my goodness, I thank you. And ladies and
well,
gentlemen, if
thank
you
you.
enjoyed this conversation as well, because how could you not? How could you not? Go
It's
check
great
out
that
Ben.
you're bringing this attention to this with a podcast, and your platform is really nice. Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because this is the best way to do this, to have these conversations. I mean, you're all the way in California. I'm all the way in Wisconsin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would never be able to see you personally, but I get to have this with technology, and it now it allows you to know that I'm a friend. Miles away, I'm still a friend. You can still count on me. And
Yeah.
anybody who's listening and who enjoys what Ben has to say and wants to know more about his content and about his book, oh my goodness, check it out, his book. Go check it out. I have access to his link in the description. You'll find his access to his books that so that you can continue on thinking, so that you know as well that if you feel alone in your mental state, know that you are not alone. There's a friend in Ben. Ben can be your friend so that you can continue on thinking. With that being said, bye.